The first topic I want to explore with you is entrepreneurship itself, and more
Mm,
specifically these very nuanced alterations that you've made. And
hmm
I think it might be second nature to us because we built them into the company culture of
mm,
Voyager's Table, and we live these
yeah.
things every single day. And I've learned a ton from you on this entire topic, seeing how you operate as CEO. But I think when we bring them up to other startup folks or even hospitality people, I mean, I
hmm
think a restaurant itself or a catering company is more small business startup-y than most people talk about. But when we talk about these concepts, it's confusing for people sometimes. So I'm going to say a word or a phrase that we
Yeah.
use, and then you can
Yeah.
help define it to the listeners and maybe a little bit of philosophy behind it. So, what is a
Okay.
JJ wellness check in?
Oh gosh. Well, it starts with the fact that we want to lead by example, and we recognize that both society and work culture and the nature of our industry and our business does not encourage us to put our well-being as a priority. However, we also have seen in our own lives and in the lives of entrepreneurs and business owners we've watched what happens when you don't make that a priority. And so Justin and I, twice a week, we call each other. Am I allowed to say swears on this podcast? Great, because we shoot the shit, but we also check in on each other. How are you sleeping? How are you? How's your health? How are you eating? Are you healthy? Feeling well? What are you anxious about? And it's so vital to the health of our business because we deal with people. When we are not emotionally healthy or physically healthy, we don't have the physical and emotional stamina to give of our best to ourselves and our clients. And so, putting that as a cornerstone of how we interact with each other, it means that we have the strength emotionally, physically, spiritually to go the distance when it comes to the busy seasons. Our industry is notorious, and I say that as an event company, we're hospitality industry adjacent because the hospitality restaurant life is even more intense. Getting time for a bathroom break is a challenge when you're in busy service, right? And as we're seeing out of the pandemic, people are questioning if that's actually a healthy business model. And I think one of the wonderful things is that, Justin, we've been practicing this for 3 years. And so it was a no brainer to prioritize our well being in a time where everybody was realizing well being is really important. Um, and I feel really lucky that I have a business partner who cares about that as much as I do. And we would not have been able to weather the storm of these last 18 months had we not taken care of ourselves. When I don't sleep, I don't make good decisions. We all know that. When you're tired, you don't make good decisions. How can we expect to run companies and grow them if we aren't taking care of these fundamentals? This whole culture of like, I only need 4 hours of sleep because I'm a go-getter and I'm a badass. It's like, yeah, great. Talk to me after your third divorce and when you're doing coke on the regular just to keep up. It's like, if I want that life, if it was about just money, there are lots of easier jobs I could have, especially after being an entrepreneur. I should go do those. If it's about doing what you love and having longevity in that industry, then you have to put your well-being at the forefront.
So, someone's listening and they're like, okay, cool. I like that idea. How does that actually come into practice? Because I think we treat it like a doctor's appointment or a
Mm-hmm.
scheduling call with your therapist. Like it's not you making sure that I have the call and me making sure you're on the call. It's like we are, and I think that this is an important nuance because I think it coming from one person, um, uh, hierarchically imposing this on somebody else. I think
Mm-hmm.
you have to have the buy-in from both sides, and it's almost
Mm-hmm.
like we apologize to each other if we miss our wellness check-in because
Yeah.
it's honestly so
Yeah.
critical for us. So
Yeah.
I guess practical things for folks. I mean, it doesn't have to be 30 minutes. We've done 10-minute
Yeah.
ones before. But
Yeah.
anything else that tactically that people can do if they're like, this sounds like a good idea. I think I should do this with my business partner.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's you've got to find a time that works. And so we have these rough appointments on our calendars, and it's usually when I'm walking to work or when Justin's walking back from the gym. And so it's not like we have to be in front of our computers. It's just a phone call. And what I love about it is that I feel like it's like an interstitial, but it's a critical interstitial. I'll think of Justin as I'm walking home and I'll be like, oh, we missed our wellness today. Oh, let me give him a quick call. And it's those little prompts. Getting buy-in from your business partner is critical. I'll take 2 steps back and say, choose your business partners wisely. They need to be someone who you, like, if the chips were all down, like if you had nothing left, they would still have your back. I have seen so many entrepreneurs make poor business partnership decisions that have cost them. And unwinding a business partnership is like a divorce. And
Totally.
I can tell you, there are amicable divorces and there are terrible ones. And I feel so fortunate. You know, the adage, I mean, the track record I have is before I started Voyager's Table, I'd started 4 businesses in 4 years. Voyager's Table was the 5th business. I'm pleased to say that I'm still friends with those former business partners, that I care about them deeply, that we care about one another. And unwinding the business partnership was fairly straightforward. It was still stressful, don't get me wrong, because I sweat when I talk to lawyers. That's just how and the tax department, and Justin watches me do it. I'm definitely the goody 2-shoes that just always thinks I've done something wrong when people of authority are involved. But having those business partners where your values align, wasn't that one of the first things we talked about?
Huge.
Was the fundamental need to have an alignment of values. And so maybe it's an opportunity to have a values discussion with your business partner. Take it 2 steps back and go, what is important to you? Do our values align? There's a bunch of great resources online to get alignment on values. You do the exercise, your business partner does the exercise. If your business partner doesn't see that there's value in doing that, that would be a red flag for me. Hi, boys, for a reason. So use that, you know, if you're early on in your business partnership, now's the time to ask hard questions. That's where I'd start. And then I'd say, you know, if they're not in a place, or if they're, you know, not up to it or not interested, maybe find a friend or a colleague or a fellow entrepreneur who also needs that kind of support and wants to, you know, participate in that. And then you can be each other's like success buddy and keep each other accountability buddies. You know, they're so vital.
I know we're talking about it in like a co-founder to co-founder kind of context here, but like, if anybody who's listening thinks back to like work relationships where you feel like you're super on the same page as your other colleague, I mean, it might, like, I have a person that I worked with on the line in Norway, and after service, we would write our prep list together and ask, how did that feel tonight? You know, like, what would you kind of change? I mean, like, we weren't calling it a wellness check-in, but in theory, we were technically doing like this little, very disciplined, like short and sweet, but just like take each other's pulse kind of check-in. And like, it does, even if it's like your station partner and you can do something like this, I think that would, you know, pay some dividends.
Or if you're in culinary training with, or, you know, you're going through some sort of education program together, like go, hey, will you ask me next week if I did 10 push-ups before, or like I need to do 5 squats before service. Can you, if I don't, I'm paying you $5. Like, huge. You set the example, lead by example, and then invite that person to come to the party. Before you know it, you're going to find someone who wants to play that game with you. And then that helps you find people that you resonate with as well. It's a great way to make friends, I think.